Hi guys, this is Mrs. DeBoer, and this lesson is to identify cause and effect when reading. We are going to read about the Townshend Acts, and that is the event. So we are going to need to know what the definition of the Townshend Acts is. So what happened, and we are going to need to find the cause of the Townshend Acts. So why were the Townshend Acts created? And what happened as a result of the Townshend Acts. So, how did people respond to these acts? So, I'm going to read you this section, and while you're listening, I want you to listen for the event. So, what are exactly the Townshend Acts? What caused them, and what happened as a result of them? So, what happens afterward? All right. The Townshend Acts. The next British leader to face the challenge of taxing the colonies was Charles Townshend, known as Champagne Charlie because of his habit of making speeches in Parliament after drinking champagne. Townshend believed that the colonists' bad behavior made it even more important to retain an army in the British colonies. Remember that this gives us our definition right after here, so our context clue. Once he was asked in Parliament whether he would dare to make the colonists pay for that army. Stamping his foot, Townshend shouted, "I will! I will!" Townshend kept his promise, and in 1767 he persuaded Parliament to pass the Townshend Acts. The new laws placed a duty or tax on certain goods the colonies imported from Great Britain, including such popular items as glass, paint, paper, and tea. A boycott of British goods. To many colonists, the Townshend duties were unacceptable. Once again, colonists were determined not to pay taxes that their assemblies had not voted on. A Boston patriot named Samuel Adams led the opposition to the Townshend Acts. Although Adams was a failure at business, he was gifted at stirring up protests through his speeches and writing. The governor of Massachusetts once complained, "Every dip of his pen stung like a horned snake." In a letter protesting the Townshend Act, Adams argued that the new duties violated the colonists' rights as British citizens. The letter was sent to many of the other colonies. Soon, the colonies decided to boycott British goods in order to protect their rights, meaning that they refused to buy those goods. This was a peaceful form of protest that even loyalists could support. One by one, all of the colonies agreed to support the boycott. Since they did most of the shopping, women were very important in making the boycott work. The Virginia Gazette wrote that women could do more for the good of her country than 500 noisy Sons of Liberty with all their mobs and riots. Women found many ways to avoid buying British imports. They sewed dresses out of homespun cloth, brewed tea from pine needles, and bought only American-made goods. Repeal of the Townshend Acts. Meanwhile, a new leader named Lord North became head of the British government. Described by Townshend as a great, heavy, booby-looking man, Lord North embarrassed his supporters by taking naps in Parliament. However, he was good with numbers, and he could see that the Townshend duties were a big money loser because duties didn't begin to make up for all the money British merchants were losing because of the boycott. Early in 1770, North persuaded Parliament to repeal all of the Townshend duties, except for one, the tax on tea. Although some members of Parliament argued that the duty on tea would lead to further conflict with the colonies, King George refused to give up on the idea of taxing Americans. "I am clear that there must always be one tax to keep up the right," the king said, "and as such I approve the tea duty."